Well, anybody can Google the statistics for the rich getting richer, and you'll find that there's not much debate. There is no debate really on are the rich getting richer, and it's been a long-term trend, and it simply seems natural, doesn't it? They have the power. How are you going to stop it if you try to move into that wealth? If you try to tax luxury items that they purchase, they'll buy them overseas, and so on and so forth. But regardless of whether that's morally an issue or not, socially, it's obviously an issue. This is a matter of system design and system analysis, right? If you have a system like this, you know, something has to give eventually. And we know from history what gives. We think, oh, we're past this kind of violent revolution. Nobody is past that. If all the wealth continually accrues into a smaller and smaller group of people at the top, then there will come a crisis. And, the impoverished will rise up and steal all the assets that belong to these wealthy people officially. It'll probably be the uh, thugs with guns that do it, and they'll be just as bad or worse even than the last group. And there'll be some sort of flattening of the differences, which will then accrue, and the rich will get richer. And this kind of crisis, boom to bust and crisis, is a part of the capitalist system as we understand it. And again, it does not matter ethically if there's some principled reason this must happen. It must not happen. We have either the choice to gently change this system or to let the crisis come. And it'll continue to come until somebody creates a system that works properly from a system analysis point of view. And that is, if you have a lot of money, it should be hard to hold on to. All right? If you have a lot of money, it should be hard to hold on to. Now, I prefer not to have confiscation because I don't trust the confiscators any more than anybody else does. It would be better if it was difficult to hold on to money. This is one of the things about inflation. Inflation promotes not holding on to money, but there's other problems with inflation. So we don't really want to rely on it. But it does make people with big piles of money uh, have an incentive to putting it back into the system. And this is basically what you need. Money that is just sitting still probably should be taxed. Money that's moving around probably shouldn't be. As much as a value added tax and sales taxes and various other kinds of alternative taxes from what we have in the US with income tax, they all have their problems, but and reasons also to do them. I mean, the value added tax has certain, advantages as well as disadvantages. But ideally, from a systems point of view, you would tax the money that isn't doing any good, the money that's pooling up. You would do things that do not allow the money to be pooled up. And I leave it as an exercise for all of you to think of ways this could be achieved. But if we don't find and implement one of those ways, or many of them, then we are going to have major crisis in the world, major crisis that sets us back, that sets our science and knowledge and universities and our cities burned down, because it's simply not sustainable for the wealthy to become wealthier as a matter of rule. It needs to be difficult, okay? And then, in a system of balance, then it might be of concern that the wealth aren't getting wealthier. It would mean, oh, they're losing their resources. Where's the investment going to come from? You might even create uh, rules that allow them to retain their wealth better to still maintain that balance. But see, we've never been in that situation, ever, as far as I could know, in the history of mankind, under any system whatsoever, including allegedly egalitarian ones. Okay. But a system like that has to be achieved, or else we are simply planning for bigger and bigger catastrophes. As the weapons get more and more disturbingly powerful, there's a big question of whether we can survive another crisis. Because at least in the past, we've survived these crises, and maybe it takes a century to get back on your feet, or even a few centuries. But at least it's possible because you haven't created a giant radioactive crater out of your habitat. So if anybody has any ideas, they should feel free to work on them and encouraged to do so, because this system that we have is simply not sustainable as a matter, more or less, of mathematics.